Just, okay. All right. So now we're going to get going.
Come here, Spirit. Come here.
So today we're going to talk about those 12 spiritual laws of the universe and what they mean. And so when you think about the spiritual laws of the universe, you might go straight to the laws of attraction. However, it turns out that there's a whole network of interconnected spiritual laws that can impact on every aspect of your life. Even better, all of those laws can be used to assist in the law of attraction work. You don't need to be working on any particular manifestation goal to benefit here. Now, this is reason this is written this way because this is a marketing piece for, guess what? The law of attraction. So everything's tilted that way, right? Often discussed with reference to the healing practice of Ho'oponopono, the 12 spiritual laws of the universe each teach you something unique about well-being, happiness, and success. Can anybody see whether Crystal was able to get back in or not? There she is. She's ringing my doorbell. Often discussed with the healing practices of Ho'oponopono, and of course, the person who's advocating the laws of attraction is also promotes the Ho'oponopono course as well. He has the 12 spiritual laws of the universe each teach you something unique about well-being, happiness, success. When you have a solid sense of these spiritual laws, you develop a clearer picture of your own place in the world. This guide will explore and summarize all 12 of the laws. Plus, it should help you understand how they influence you and how your awareness of them can lead to positive change. Okay, so here we go. So this is the guy here. This is Joe. What's his name? Joe, what is his? Vitaly. And he's trying to sell you the laws of manifestation and Ho'oponopono, okay? So just to let you know, that's why he keeps popping up here. So the 12 spiritual laws of the universe. When you don't understand the connection between the spiritual laws, you naturally encounter obstacles. You may feel lost, frustrated, and confused about your purpose. It may even feel like virtually everything goes wrong for you, no matter how well you think you plan. In contrast, people who live with their lives with awareness of the interconnected laws typically report feeling more confident, productive, and reflective than ever before. Well, there's advanced personal work you can do with respect to each law, even starting out with this general grasp of the different laws may make a noticeable difference in the way that you feel. Okay, the law of divine oneness. So this is the law of one that I keep quoting, right? That comes from the raw material. Remember, Lauren, you and I were talking on the wellness show about raw? That's where the law of one comes from, or the first place I saw the law of one, right? When you according to the law of one, when one is harmed, all are harmed, and one is free, all are free. So the law of divine oneness is a fundamental law according to which absolutely everything in our universe is interconnected. In other words, every choice, word, desire, belief, you also have an impact on the world and on the people in your life. Sometimes this impact will be immediate and obvious. At other times, it may take a while to manifest, or you may never even discover that it has occurred. Try to think of yourself as being part of everything around you to live in accordance with this law. We are one, and awareness of this makes us more powerful as well as more empathic or empathetic. The thing about the law of one is that according to the law of one of doing no harm, to me is this universal law in my understanding from where I'm coming from trumps all other laws, right? Particularly man-made laws. So if you call on the law of one, which is, to do no harm, and you call that in, then that overshadows and has precedence over all other laws. Does that make sense to people?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. And anything else that you want to think about or say about that?
I think you're clear.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is really, to me, if there's any one law you understand, it's this law, right? Okay, in the law of vibration, according to the law of vibration, every particle in the universe is in constant motion and constantly carries energy. Technical difficulties. I can see you and I can't hear you. Crystal. Is Crystal there yet?
She's been, she says she can hear us, but she can't see us. She came on and then she flashed off.
All right. Is
I
she
don't know.
back now? Can you see whether she's back? I can't see it when I'm shooting.
Yes, she is.
All right. There she is. Okay, great. There you are. You disappeared.
There she is.
There she is. Okay. We're back. Share the screen again. Okay, the law of vibration. According to the law of vibration, every particle in the universe is in constant movement and constantly carries energy. This applies to enormous parts of the universe like the planets and the stars. However, it also applies to the chair underneath you or the table where your computer sits. In addition, everything has its own specific energy frequency. High energy particles are naturally tuned to other high energy particles, and the same is true for those that have low energy. Okay, so this is why the deep clearing protocol is so important, right? High energy particles are naturally attuned to other high energy particles, and lower energy particles are attuned to other lower energy. That's why you get a lower vibrational frequency, less than 50, if you're open like 75% or more, you're most likely going to have voices in your head, and you're going to also have, entities. Let me just see if I can let her in again. Crystal's bouncing in and out like a yo-yo. Okay. So that's the basis of the deep clearing protocol. And it's also the dominant frequency always is the one that all the other frequencies entrain to. Like the clock, the dominant clock in a clock shop, very soon all the clocks are going to tick and the talk as the same as all the other clocks. If you're in a women's dorm, all the women start to have their period at the same time, according to the moon cycle. And so the dominant energy always is the one that entrains all the other energies. So if your goal is to live a more productive and fuller life, consider that you would need to do to heighten your energy frequency. The other part about this is we were talking about, I just got off the call, we were doing the virus and vaccine clearing session together, and we were talking about Royal Rife, and that his work is with radionics, or the vibrational frequency, that when you match the frequency to the virus, that the two can't coexist, and so the virus is killed. So that's the law of vibration, right? Or the opera singer hitting the same note as the glass. Though all of a sudden, the wave that destroys the particle. So that's the wave particle theory. When the two are matched, the physicality ceases and it becomes a wave. So I don't know, I've never thought of this, but it must mean that the wave vibration has more dominance than the actual manifestation of the physicality. Otherwise, the physicality would not be dominated by the wave when they match. So what do you think of that? Do you want me to say that again?
Yes.
Or does that make sense?
No, please say it again.
Okay, so when we talk about the, in an experiment, that there's a wave and then there's a particle, and if you think of a wave, you see the wave, you think of a particle, right? But the two are simultaneous. But when the Royal Rife did his experiments in matching the vibration of, say, a virus, then the wave vibration of the frequency destroyed the virus.
It canceled it out. I got it.
It canceled it out. So if that's true, and if the opera singer is singing a certain note that resonates at the vibrational frequency of the glass, then the glass shatters, and that seems to me that the wave has the dominant frequency, or has the ability to transform matter back into wave. So there must be a wave before there's a particle.
Yeah, I used to do vibrational remedies all the time, and that's exactly, they would match, they would take the same thing, like with attract like, right? And then
Yeah.
cancel it out. Yeah, same thing.
Cancel it out. But I just never had the thought about, which, how does that work? But it must be that the wave cancels out the physicality, which makes sense to you. It is all vibrational until it condenses down into the physical realm, right?
Well, yeah, you can't look at it in a physical sense and that's where I think quantum physics comes in too, and it automatically changes it. That's why I was always told that everything is upside down and backwards. Anyone else get that information, that what we see isn't what reality really is? Yeah, what it really is. Does that make sense? It's all an illusion here.
Well, if we all create the world we live in, then we're literally projecting into, a huge multiplex screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're creating this interactive, huge scale video game.
Mm-hmm.
So if we could just change our consciousness, we'd have a new video game to play. I find it fascinating because if this is true, then whenever you raise the frequency beyond the actual physicality of what it's vibrating in, then that physicality will disappear, which is what happens with abominable snowmen or with Yeti or with, or is that they have that ability that in one moment they're in this dimension and the last thing you see is their eyes and then they're gone. So they can literally come in and out of this dimension by being able to change their vibrational frequency. Just like monatomic gold, if you're looking at monatomic gold and its frequency increases, it will disappear. You won't see it. And then the vibration will settle down. You'll see the monatomic gold reappear. And with the crystal skulls, if you put two crystal skulls together and you videotape them, they'll start communicating with each other and you'll see an arc of energy from one crystal skull to the other. Then it'll become blinding light as they're communicating, and then as the energy settles down, they reemerge back out of the white light. So essentially, the physicality, you can't see it anymore because it isn't present on this dimension. So is it an illusion, like you say, Laura? Yeah, you raise our vibration, we can't even, this whole level disappears, right?
Yeah.
All right, crystal's popping back in. So that's the second law. And then there's the law of correspondence, which is number 3. The law of correspondence is directly related to the foundational law of divine oneness. The key idea here is that patterns repeat throughout the universe and that the predominant pattern can also be found repeated on a very small scale. For example, think of the popular example of the spiral pattern that reappears in a huge number of places in the galaxy. Look for patterns in your own life and in your own thinking and notice how they repeat everywhere in the world. As you do so, consider the kind of pattern changes you might be able to make and how these will create change on a larger scale. So, so the golden mean would be one, right? Or the example of Michelangelo's painting of man, where he's in the circle and he's got his arms stretched out, where every joint in the finger, the distance from the joint in the finger is the same ratio, golden ratio, as the finger is to the joint, as the finger is to the hand, as the hand is to the arm, as the arm is to the shoulders, and on and on and on. It's just the golden mean replicated over and over again. Or it could be in sense of the tube torus. You know what a tube torus is? Like it's a donut. You've ever seen the tube torus? Yeah. And it has all the colors of the rainbow. And when you turn it, you can see the energy coming in and out. And that's what the deep clearing is. It's creating a tube torus of literally bringing in energy down and taking energy out, right? So this is coming out and this is going in. And there's a 0 point in the center where they collapse, right? All time and space collapses. And then that 0 point, you get to take what you no longer want, that energy, and create it into what you do want, because all potentiality is available in that 0 point. So that's a tube torus. And I haven't found it lately, but I will look for it. If you take the smallest part of a tube torus, in other words, you keep cutting the tube torus till you come to the smallest particle of the tube torus, or the smallest shape that you can replicate the whole tube torus with if you rotate it. You take that piece and you shine light on it and rotate it, you will be able to create the alphabet. You'll get A, rotate it B, rotate it C, rotate it D, you'll get the whole alphabet. So all of our language comes from the tube torus, right? All the 4 sacred languages, Tibetan, Chinese. I don't know how Chinese does because it's actually in symbols, but my mind can't grasp that. But apparently to the keys in Enoch, it's one of the sacred languages. All come from the rotation of that little fragment of the tube torus. When you rotate it, you get the letters of the alphabet. Really cool. And there's somebody did that, figured that all out, and I haven't been able to find it on the web again, but when you rotate it, you can rotate it on your own and you can create the letters of the alphabet. So even our languages has the divinity in it. And of course, then there's the Merkaba too, right? Which is the Star of David, which is spinning one way at the top and one way at the bottom, which in case those 2 vortices we talked about, one collapsing and one expanding, which is the deep clearing protocol. In the center is that 0 point, and then at the 0 point with a human, the energy coming down from spirit to matter explodes in your heart and goes sideways. So your heart expands outward, right? And when you're at that frequency of activating your Merkaba, you literally can do interdimensional travel. So that's how many UFOs actually work, is there's a connection between the technology they've created, their own personal Merkaba, so that the Merkaba of what they've created is in harmony. So when they think that and they do that inner explosion in their heart, they're able to move the actual UFO to take it to whatever dimensional reality they want.
Right.
Pretty cool, eh? There was a person who was in Area 51, and there was a UFO that they had somehow acquired, and he was a psychic, and they wanted him to see if he can unlock the technology, because they couldn't figure out how to get into this.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, I'll only do it if everybody clears out of this hangar, and I'll go in on my own. So he went in, and he found that when he approached the craft, his energy could match the craft's energy, and literally the doors opened for him to enter. So this is one of the things that you'll find in spiritual law, is that lots of things are locked down on this planet that you can't actually access until you reach that right frequency, and then those doors are open. It's sort of like even your DNA isn't activated fully until you reach a certain vibrational frequency. And then the keys and codes, is like literally call it keys and codes. It unlocks the door and allows that new energy to come through. Yeah. Pretty neat, eh? So,
That's exactly it. There's the 7 keys too.
Say that again?
There's the 7 keys. And once you obtain all 7 keys, then I don't know, I guess then you're good. They just told me that there's 7 keys.
Yeah, I don't know if there's 7 keys, but certainly they call it the keys of Enoch too, right? J.J. Hercock calls it the keys.
Yeah, I have that book. That would be a good one. That would be a good one for us to go through.
Yeah, that would take a lifetime, but yeah. We'll get Wayne downstairs to do this. He's been
it's not as complicated anymore as it was once. What?
All right.
Come here.
So that's the law of attraction, and the law of attraction allows that certain things on the spiritual level can't be misused, because you can't have access to them until you have that law of attraction. Okay, the law of inspired action. See if we can get this to move. We're spinning here. Uh-oh.
Come on. Come on.
Oh, there we are.
I don't think we're quite this far, are we?
No, it just jumped. It says your Google is not responding.
Your
Okay.
your Wi-Fi has been acting funny today.
Yeah.
You might have to shut her down and start her back up.
Well, let's see if we can avoid that. It will just bless it right here. So Divine Mother, fix it. So where were we? We were at the Law of Attraction, right?
Are you able to put this on the reader? Sometimes, I don't know if you could do this. I do this on my iPad.
Yeah.
Up in the, you could put it on the reader mode, or like, it's almost like you're going to print it out and then it's a document.
Yeah, but I'd have to copy that right now. So we have the Law of Attraction, right? We just finished that. Is that right? Where were we? Help somebody.
Yeah, you just
that-
mentioned.
The
that's
fourth
what you-
one, yeah, we're on the fourth one.
Okay. So the Law of Attraction. So as you likely already know, the Law of Attraction tells us so like attracts like. So in order to have the things that you desire in life, you have to work out how to vibrate at the same frequency as these things. And as we know, the mind has no ability to know what you are imagining if you use all of your senses. It cannot distinguish that between that and 3D reality, which is pretty cool when you think about it, which explains again that we've created the world as a figment of our imagination. It has no more value than our actual imagination. It has the same frequency and the same response. So if you're visualizing running a mile and you can do it with as much detail as running the mile, your body will have run the mile. Athletes do that all the time to keep themselves in training, right?
Yeah.
All right. So the more general lessons here, the more general lesson here is that being positive, proactive, and loving attracts more of the same into your life. Meanwhile, pessimism, fear, and lethargy all lead you to generate more negative experiences and aspects of your life. By working to live more positively, even just today, you are already using the law of attraction to create a better existence for yourself. So really the fundamental principles of the deep clearing protocol is teaching you the law of attraction, right? All right, 5, the law of inspired action. The law of attraction practitioners regularly say that they wish they had known about the law of inspired action at an earlier stage. These two laws are tightly bound together, and inspired action law tells you that we must actively pursue our goal. Most people think that visualizing a goal and developing a positive attitude towards it will be sufficient to exploit the law of attraction. However, you also have to take an inspired step towards that thing that you want. Whether it's a big or small step, it instantly helps you to attract that relationship, job, or enhanced abundance you seek. So we have to, it's sort of like the expression, God only helps those that help themselves, right? You have to do something, right? You can't do nothing and expect it to manifest.
Don't you think that's how some people think it works, though?
Well, absolutely. I mean, isn't that the concept of, it's sort of like the same attitude of, could you just heal me, right? I don't need
Exactly.
to do
My clients don't want to do the work.
right. No, if you don't do the work, you don't get the results. So I always say to clients, do the work and get the results.
Yeah.
No work, no results,
I know. I just said to my client today, I was like, listen, I've already done this. If you don't want to go deep, I've done my work already. I'm good. But if you're going to keep ice skating on top and looking outside yourself and you don't want to look inside, you're going to keep getting the same answers, and your neck's going to continue to hurt. And she was like, fine. So you kind of got to put it back on them over and over and over again. Be like, nope, keep going. Nope, that's not it either. Nope. And they're like, what do you mean?
Yeah, go a little deeper. Yeah, taking action, I think, and the beauty of this is it doesn't have to even be the right action. There's no judgment on what type of action. It's just action. And the beauty of this is that just take action. And if the action isn't what you like, take another, it's like making a choice. A choice is an action. You don't like what you choose something else, but at least choose, have some momentum. to start the process to move, right? No movement on your part. If you don't make a choice, then nothing can happen. If you make a choice, then you're activating the law of attraction so that the next possibility will present itself. And if you really are inspired with it, then as you step into it, then the synchronicity will appear, right? The actual stepping stone will appear in front of you where there was no stepping stones that you could see previously. That's really cool. It's sort of like the leap of faith, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, number 6. The law of perpetual transmutation of energy states that everything around us is in constant flux. You cannot see all these changes because many of them exist at the cellular or atomic level, but they carry on regardless. The reason that it's so important is to be aware of this law is it helps you see how you can trigger positive change. Specifically, keep in mind that high vibrations can trigger improvements in low vibrations. For example, if you're vibrating at a low frequency, exposing yourself to a higher frequency of a happy, encouraging friend will naturally trigger energy transmutation in you, and of course, vice versa. The dominant energy always is the one that everything else entrains to. So, and everything is in flux, right? I think who was it that said Herodotus, was it Herodotus that said you can't put your foot into the same river.
Twice in the same spot. Yeah.
Something like that. Tony,
The water is never the same. Will never flow by you again in the same way.
how does that go, Tony? You know?
Actually, it's impermanence.
Yeah, impermanence.
Yeah, it's like you can stand by a river, supposedly a river, and you ask the person, "What do you see?" And the person would say, "I see a river." I say, "Where is it?" Well, you see is water flowing. There is no river really. Yeah, because water is motion and it's impermanence. So it just so it's flowing means motion, but it's keep flowing means change all the time. And when we're talking about the law of divineness and the law of vibration, they're really all they imply they come from the source of motion. And the reason why when our thought is motion is energy that's moving, but it also, law of vibration also is motion, correspondence, everything that you've talked about, Tyson, actually involves the idea of motion is in action. So I would say the common denominator for all these actually happens to be motion and impermanence as well,
Right. Yeah, interesting. I know that, and I can't remember the full quote, but Ian Lungold, who presented us with the Mayan calendar, was translator from the Mayan shamans in Guatemala, those that carried the calendar. There's a quote that says, "Step into the river and go with the flow." In other words, let the current of the river carry you. Particularly at this time, stop trying to fight the current, right? Like it's moving so fast that you're going to get yourself in a lot of trouble. Try trying to fight it or change it or move with it. Just let go. So this, this is the constant flux and flow. That if you step into the river of life and let go and surrender and trust that you'll be in the right place at the right time, you'll be carried by this perpetual transmutation of energy. But if you decide that you want to change it, then you really are going to create a lot of suffering for yourself because the force is so strong that it will just sweep you off your feet. So
can I ask you a question? I had somebody tell me one time that any time that I go after something that it doesn't work out or something, but if I wait, God will like put everything I need right in front of me. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
no, I was talking about something else, but that's a great point. In the laws of manifestation that I'm aware of and I'm learning with my coach more and more, So I'll have more to say about this as the deeper I get into it, because the last session was totally on manifestation. So let's ask that a question again, because I lost it, because all of a sudden I got a download about what she was talking about.
Okay,
Ask it
so
again.
so what I was told is that if I pursue something, if I go after something,
Yeah.
it like doesn't work out. But if somebody else comes to me and presents something with me, for me, it works out. Does that make
I
sense?
heard something different. So I'll deal with what I heard differently, because it may help what you're asking me. I'll deal with what I heard first. Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so what I thought you were saying, which you weren't saying, but I thought you were saying, was that if I'm going to manifest something, I need to be really clear on what I want to manifest, but then I have to leave it alone so it can appear in my life. And
No.
that's absolutely true.
It is.
You cannot mess with it. It's like digging up seeds in the garden to see if they're growing. Doesn't
Mhm.
work.
Yeah.
So there needs to be there's a point at which you manifest with the vision of you already having it, and then you have to leave it alone. Okay.
Then I guess then that is true. Because that would be the same thing. We're both saying the same thing, just differently.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
so translate what you were asking into the answer.
Also, manifesting implies having the two frequencies in sync.
Yeah.
So it's like, what somebody said one time, I won the lottery, and I said, do you know how what I did? I said, no, but he said, well, I matched my frequency with the frequency of money, and so that's how he explained it, but if the frequency is not in sync, I think there's no manifestation,
Yeah. That goes back to the law of attraction, right? That those
that's
like
right.
attracts like.
But
Yeah.
I have one question, Taz, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Do you think we humans are a hologram?
Say more about that.
You know what a hologram is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we a hologram?
Say some more about it.
Well, a hologram is something whereby the micro unit actually comprises of the macro unit, the whole unit.
Right.
And so hologram is like, it's something that you think it exists, but it really doesn't exist.
Yeah, I think that you're probably right. I mean,
I see what you're saying.
yeah, what are we? I mean, we are, if we're a fractal of God, or we are a fractal of a fractal of a fractal,
Yeah,
the same fractal all the way up and all the way down.
Yeah, that's
which
right.
means at one level, we're the same as God, and as God is the same as us, we're just at different levels of the fractal, but we are one and the same, which is the law of one, right? Which is sort of cool when you think about it. But I also had that whole thing about, I got this, and I don't know how this relates, but I'll just say it just came into my mind about, when I was talking about with the Yeti or that he can appear and disappear. Well, that means we can appear and disappear into any dimensional reality we want, or any time space dimension, past, present, or future, because they're all illusionary.
Right.
But we could be literally haunting somebody else, right? That's why I always say in the deep clearing is, we talk about haunting, people haunting us in our reality. What if we're haunting people in their reality, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
Well, yesterday when I was working with Harold McCoy, he replaced a woman's lungs. Now, realistically, in the physical plane, we all are going to go, that didn't happen. But holographically, right? Then it would make sense. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was talking just on we just did the virus one, and we were talking about the MAP program, right? Medical assisted program
Mhm.
with the masters of, you know, what is it? The masters of light or whatever. What are they? Who are they?
The Great White Brotherhood.
That great white brother, those dudes and dudesses.
Mhm.
And we were talking about, I said, yeah, I've read somewhere where they actually have had the experience of calling on the dentist at that level and literally having gold fillings in their teeth.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, absolutely.
And the reading, I was just reading about how yogis will will come and go out of, they'll leave this island and they'll be in town, but there's no way there's no way for those to for them to get there other than this transportation, which is
Right.
exactly what this is that once you get to a spiritual level where you understand the laws and how all of this stuff works, you can then succumb to the understanding of how energy actually works. And just like how UFOs go or Yeti work or whatever, that you too can become that right here on the physical plane.
Yeah, absolutely. In the
Mhm.
Masters of the Far East, they talk about coming across one of the masters in the middle of the trail, and he's just lying there in you know, and supposedly in an inanimate state, and a bird has created a nest in his beard. He's just somewhere else, right?
Mhm.
He just parked his body like a car. Said, "I don't need that for now. I know we're here," right?
Mhm.
So I thought that was pretty amazing.
Well, these monks actually move their body from one space to the next.
Yeah, you
Like,
can, but you don't have to. I mean, a body could. I know when I'm dreaming.
exactly.
Who wants a body? I mean, I'd rather fly. I mean, a body is
I
just a
don't
pain
want to
in
be
the
here
ass,
anymore.
right? I'd rather fly. I love the feeling of flying. You know, the body is just getting like, whoa, that's way too heavy. So, and
So how do we learn how to do that? Let's do the master part of this program.
how do you do that?
How do we move, like become like the yogi where they move, like, so I could come see you without thinking about it,
Well,
or
I think first of all, you do it.
anywhere in the world, right?
Yeah, I think you do it in the. I know I do it in the dream state, and the only reason I know that is because I've had many dreams of flying, right? And I can remember how scary it was because my body wouldn't work, and then I realized, well, I'm not in my body. You just think of turning upside down, or you think about flying left or right, and guess what? You do. So it has to do with your thoughts. It doesn't have with moving your body. Once I learned that, I was free, right? And that means you can breathe underwater. You can do, you know,
Oh, right.
interdimensional travel. You can
Yeah.
do everything. Well,
I
the
want
next,
to learn how to go from one island to the other in this body, and boom, bebop, and there I am. No more TSA.
well, the thing is that in Don Juan and Carlos Castaneda, he says, well, when you go to sleep and you're having this dream, you can choose where you want to wake up. Okay. So if you're already imagined yourself somewhere else, your choice is where do you want to wake up. I've had that feeling a couple of times. It's a bit scary.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually,
Mm-hmm.
at once, my near death experience, the first thing I said when I came out was, am I alive or dead? Because I could not tell.
Mm-hmm.
And in the other dimensional reality was as real as this dimensional reality, to the extent where my wedding ring was, I knew it was broken on the other dimension. And when I came to on this dimension and asked whether I was alive or dead, my ring was broken, right? So, which has more validity? Which dimension? No, they're the same. They both have the ability to literally destroy or alter matter, right? I thought that was really, almost scary.
Mm-hmm.
Started to think about it, but it was just as valid as this reality.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
no,
they started showing me like 20 years ago that there's like tears in the
in the
can't ex-
fabric, yeah.
you know what I'm saying, right?
Yep.
So they show me these tears every once in a while, but they're only like zzz, and then they go away, and I'm like, well, What am I supposed to do with that? Do I have
Well,
the option right now to go, or?
No, well, what I got, this is what I got, talking about tears in the fabric, is I was told that you'll wake up one morning and you'll see the world completely different. And the way that I interpret that is the matrix will literally dissolve. The only thing that keeps the matrix together is our collective unconsciousness, right? Or our fear, or whatever you want to do, our negative emotions are being tied into the central computer that runs this program, like, the wizard, behind the curtain. We all believe in this. It creates this reality, creates this, video game we're part of. When we don't believe it anymore, there's no energy to maintain it, and there's holes in the fabric. And at one moment, it'll just dissolve. It will no longer have the energy to be there, right? It'll just dissolve. And you'll see the world for what it truly is.
Bring it. I'm
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah, I've
They
been.
just said, no, you're not.
No, you're not. Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking. I thought in the '70s it was going to happen tomorrow morning. I'm still waiting for tomorrow morning.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Well, if it isn't this lifetime, maybe it'll be next one.
Yeah, how many lifetimes we've been saying that, though?
No, but I'm willing to hope that it's this one. It's what keeps me going. All right, the law of cause and effect. Number 7. One of the most straightforward laws of the universe, the law of cause and effect, tells us that all actions have a corresponding reaction. You already know this, of course, when it comes to physical object aspects of the world. However, perhaps you haven't considered how this law might be applied to the spiritual aspects of our universe. Your spiritual life could impact the world around you, causing positive or negative reaction. Similarly, your physical environment can impact on your spirituality, whether for good or for ill. Ask yourself what kinds of relationships you see between the spiritual and physical, and how you might want to change them. So another way of interpreting this is it's the same, it's the statement as above, so below, right?
Yep.
So the law, this is why systems theory, whole systems theory that I studied at university is so powerful, because when you understand systems theory, that same system, how it works at the level of a subatomic particle or at the level of a multiverse. It's the same laws of sacred geometry and the same laws of interdimensional reality. So once you understand how this works, then you understand how it works on all levels. Pretty cool, eh?
Sorry, hold on.
Tyson, that was my graduate work, the general system theory.
Oh, was it?
In school, yeah, I did that for my PhD, my
Wow, I didn't know that, Tony. I did mine for my MA, which should have been a PhD.
Well, actually, I'm an ABD because I didn't finish my PhD because my advisor died on me.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and so nobody was able to replace him, but I did all the work, so I'll get everything done. All I need to do is just write my dissertation.
Wow.
But he died. So.
Wow, we're coming from the same school. No wonder we think similarly.
Yeah,
Mine was mine. I presented on St. Patrick's Day, and I was talking about, anyway, doesn't matter. And I said, you got to graduate me because you keep giving me more work to do, and I'm not going for a PhD. You can't even grant me a PhD.
yeah.
So I'm asking you to graduate me this time around, please, right? Because they kept giving me more work to do and more work to do, which I found totally exciting. Everybody in the degree committee was getting off on the fact I was doing all this work, and everybody was enjoying it. But I needed to stop at some point, right? Like we were way beyond an MA. But anyway.
Did you study by von Bantelamfi by any chance when you did your
Say that again?
Von Bantelamfi.
No, that doesn't ring a bell.
Okay, all right. He was the
If you want to share something with me about that, it'd be great.
I'm sorry?
I didn't, but if you want to share something about that with me,
Sure. I'll send you some information, yeah.
that would be wonderful.
Yeah. He was the father of systems theory, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had one person who wanted me to do general system theory from an engineer's point of view, and that was tough. And so I learned how to site nuclear reactors and do all sorts of crazy ass things that I would never use, right?
Yeah.
But he wanted me to be able to understand general system theory as well. But I was really doing it from the point of view that we're alienated from nature and therefore from our own inner nature, unless there's alignment between our social, political, moral, religious systems and the natural systems, they're bound to fail.
Yeah, mine was about economics, general systems and economics.
So that's what we're experiencing right now. That's what I wrote about.
Right, yeah. And of course, time was a very important variable.
Yes.
And so I wanted to prove, that how time can be incorporated, in for example, interest rates, compound interest rates and all that, but it was very interesting.
Yeah, if there's no time, there's no interest.
That's right. But then time is linear and it really doesn't exist. It's a figment of our imagination at the end of the line.
That's right.
There's no time really, So
but my bank doesn't understand that, Tony.
yeah. But anyway, yeah, the department was very interested in my work, but unfortunately I wasn't able to.
What did you do? What department did you do it under?
In economics.
Under economics, okay.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, mine was actually at Antioch University in Seattle. I did get to design my own course, but it was under whole systems design.
Yeah, that's
it was really geared to organizational renewal.
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
The law of compensation.
Yeah.
According to the laws of compensation, you'll receive what you put in. This is similar to the laws of attraction, but with a focus on the idea that compensation can come in many, many, many forms. And if you are a coach, or if you are a healer, or working with other clients, this is very, very important concept. Oh, Crystal's back. So according to the law, sorry?
But where did Eduardo go?
Oh, I'm still here.
Oh, he's still there.
Oh, there's two crystals. That's weird.
One's wonderful, two is a treat. Okay. According to the law of compensation, you will receive what you put out. This is similar to the law of attraction, but a focus on the idea that compensation can come in many forms. For example, if you win a large amount of money, then you might think you're getting a reward. However, depending on how you have lived, your vast amount of wealth could lead to a worse life rather than a better one. Essentially, you reap what you sow. This law reminds you to be careful about how do you treat others and indeed the planet. Yeah, to me, this is the law of karma, which I would love for all of the Illuminati to have a little sit-down course with the laws of karma and say, gentlemen, I brought you here together or help you realize what you're doing to yourselves and the consequences of your action, because your mama never taught you the laws of karma.
Yep.
But don't you think that all of our souls have to go through those lessons so that we know what it is?
Or how about if we didn't?
Well, if I had to go through it and you had to go through it, I think they got to go through it. I'm just saying.
Hey, I don't know. There seems to be a lot of suffering going on.
Well, that's the third dimension, and then once you get up into different dimensions, then that trickles, that trickles away. And if we're in infinite beings and we're in constant change and constant flux, wouldn't it get awfully boring to just like snap through stuff all the time?
I'm ready for boring. I'll take boring any day. I will. Yeah, give me boring. Give me a hammock and boredom and a glass of juice. I'll be just fine. Thank you very much.
Better be careful. You might come back as a mountain.
That'll be fine. I love this thing here about, if you win a large amount of money, and I have a good friend, her name is Lois Jure. She's an amazing psychic, and she just wrote a book about what the fuck you mean there's more, which is a spiritual guide. And she has a closed Facebook group with that topic. It's got stars, so it's not a swear word. but you know, it's from the spiritual perspective. You mean we have to learn more? This is what Laura's saying. You know, all right, we finished, for God's sakes. Anyway, she just won 45, what was it? 450, anyway, 400, I think it's $450,000. And so now she can buy a house, and her husband has had triple bypass when he actually needed to have 5 done. So anyway, now they can buy a house, and he, you know, his bypass may be good for another 10 years. So now they can, and they're in a safe environment to enjoy the last part of their years together. And I'm so excited for her because her energy was so amazing. She helped so many people that if there's anybody on this planet that deserved to have that win, was her. So there's where a match is just, you know, thank you, Divine Creator, for that energy match. Any comments about any of that? The law of compensation? I just would like money to manifest in my wallet. That's all I want. All right, 9, the law of relativity. The law of relativity is all about the neutrality of things when seen in isolation. So no particular person, experience, emotion, or action is valued as good or bad until you look at it in comparison with something else. For example, you may think you are poor, but perhaps that's because you have 3 wealthy uncles. But keeping this in mind, you remain conscious of the fact that there are always multiple perspectives on everything that happens to you. Trying to slip into these alternative perspectives can make you more grateful and can also show you where you can make improvements in your life. Yes, well, here we get back to, if we insist in living on a law on this planet, which is a planet of duality, of light and dark, good and bad, right or wrong, and we want to put judgment on the light and the dark, then we're going to experience that as a war between one side and the other. The only way is to, you know, it becomes a zero game. It becomes a zero-sum game. If somebody wins, somebody loses, and this is the war we've been playing on this planet, right? In the neutral zone, you know, the neutrality between the 2 zones is where it is the medium, or is the mean, the doctrine of the mean, which is what, you know, which what Confucius was trying to teach, the doctrine of the mean. Or in Buddhism, it's the middle way. That's that place where there is no need for any judgment. And in that 0 point, all becomes clear. And you get off the chessboard of life. There's no more struggle. You're in the right place at the right time. And there's nothing to judge. And anyway, there's nothing, we don't have the ability to judge anyway, because we can't understand at the soul level why anybody is doing what they're doing, right? We think we know, but we have no idea whatsoever. So.
Well, we make decisions based on comparison.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And it's not valid. The book, and I don't have it in front of me to show you, it's Your Soul's Journey. Very, very powerful set of books that you can read, which it talks about from the point of view of somebody having AIDS and his incarnation, why he chose to have AIDS on the level of spirit or on soul, and what he was trying to accomplish. At this level, we may judge him as having an improper life, or, you know, whatever, or he was gay, or he was this, or was that. On the soul level, he did exactly what he needed to do to learn what he needed to do. The same with murder and somebody being murdered. They made that choice on the other level, that this is what's going to happen when they get to the other side. They hug each other for doing a great job. But on our level, we want to hang somebody, or we need to put them in an electric chair because they murdered somebody else. So what I'm trying to say is, we think that we know by making a comparison about what we think is what is right and what is wrong. But if we can get out of that and into that 0 point of neutrality, into that middle way, into that neutrality, there's nothing to judge.
That's right.
And nobody said it was easy, though.
Yep.
Do you want to say something about that, Tony? Because that really is the fundamental principle of Buddhism, right?
Oh, I think that's it, really. You know, it's the idea of comparing. In Buddhism, I mean, you talk about absolutes as well, because the 0 point is an absolute point, you know,
Yeah.
because it's negative or positive. Same thing when you do comparison, you know, you really try to get to the point where, you know, you get to a 0 point, you know. So there's no positive or negative, even though you're comparing two things, but you're not. The reason I say this is because when you compare in Buddhism, you try not to go to extremes, you know, to the right or to the left, to the extreme left. You know, the real extreme beauty or extreme ugliness, you know.
Right.
But in a sense, when you're looking at those two things, you're comparing them, but you don't fall into the trap of, you know, of actually being in one or the other. In other words, I really like this beauty, you know, I like this whatever, you know. You don't want to do that, you know. But comparison actually does exist. You need to compare.
Right. Maybe we could call it discernment. We need to know both sides of the coin,
Yeah,
but we
right,
don't need to judge whether one side of the coin is better than the other.
absolutely, yes. Because, you know, again, you know, when we talk about the middle way, we're talking about being conscious of the two extremes, but not to attach to either one.
Right.
You know, so that's why. So we say, and some people believe that when we talk about the middle way, it's like the middle of something, which is really not true. The middle way is anything that can work for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you know, so for example, you taught, Tyson, you know, and you probably had some difficult students, and they disagree with you on certain things like the syllabus or this or the homework. And what you do is you change things so that you get to the middle way, so that everybody is happy. You're not going to extremes, you know.
Yeah, and
So,
yeah, go ahead.
so are you talking about balance and harmony? Is that what we're talking about?
No, we're not talking about balance or harmony, actually. We're talking about a decision that you make in order to avoid being in two extremes, either extreme.
Wouldn't that be okay?
I mean,
That-
one way of saying it physically as being like on a balance, but you know, if I think about balance, I have to be in some sort of effort. Like balance would be using that example I've used before, where somebody described, well, I'm on a boat and I'm on a high sea and it's rolling, right? And if I'm on one side of the boat, I'm going to get sick and tossed. If I'm on the other side of the boat, the same thing. I have to get to the middle of the boat, straddle the 0 point, or the, you know, where the, you know, the point of gravity is, and then I can handle that emotion or that motion, or even the emotion. I'm not violently ill, but that's making a lot of effort to do that. What we're talking about is something that in the doctrine of the mean is when you're in that, there is no judgment and it becomes effortless. There's no effort to it. There's no struggle. There's no becoming, no going, no ceasing, no, you just are. It just is, right? It just flows and synchronicity occurs. So it is balanced, but it's an effortless situation.
And so what's the word that you use for it then, Tony or Tyson?
Well, in the Tao, it's called Wu Wei.
Wu Wei, yeah, right, yeah.
WUWEI, Wu Wei.
It's action in stillness.
Action and stillness. Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and but to answer your question, Laura, when we talk about balance in Buddhism, in this concept, we're not talking about making an effort to balance. Like Tyson said, you know, it happens through Wu Wei, and so you know when actually you are at 0 point, but you don't actually work towards getting to 0 point. You're not planning a balance. It just happens.
Because if you're planning to do it, you miss the point.
Absolutely right. Yes.
Then you're using your brain, right? Or your physical.
You're in your human mind conscious trying to rationally make something happen when it's a state of grace that you arrive at because you put in the effort to being the effort of being non-effortless. I don't know.
Right.
So,
Exactly, right,
so when
yeah.
you say no judgment, does that mean that you've gone beyond the ego or it's held in check?
Yeah, but there's, I would say you still have discernment. This is how I would interpret it. So it's like the Buddha isn't detached in saying, looking at humans suffering. He's attached, but he's not involved in the world of the suffering, right?
Right.
He has compassion
Okay.
for all those that suffer. He
Yeah,
has
yeah.
the discernment of the good and the bad and the ugly and whatever, but he's not caught in it, you know.
Right.
Right, yes.
Right,
He's not attached
right.
to it. Right, yes. Mhm.
Right.
Sounds like
Exactly.
wisdom.
And what's that?
Like wisdom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
discernment is wisdom.
Mhm.
I sort of define wisdom, and this is just my own definition, is it's intellect plus intuition equals wisdom. It's balancing the left and the right hemisphere of the brain, so you have whole brain decisions rather than no brain decisions.
Yeah, except wisdom in Buddhism is very different, Tyson.
Yeah.
Laura and everybody. You know, one time, I don't know if you know the author who wrote a bunch of books on comparative religion. I think he was Christmas Humphreys, that's what his name.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
And he was asked one time by a friend of mine who actually passed away. He was a Buddhist, and asked him, Mr. Humphreys, how do you define wisdom in Buddhism? You know, and guess what? He didn't know. You know, he's a man who wrote many books on comparative religions, Buddhism and Hinduism, all that. He really didn't know what wisdom means in Buddhism.
So there's a translation or a word that doesn't exist, kind of like there's Eskimos have a million words for love and we have one word. So I can understand that. But I think the concept is the same, right? That when you have a different perspective that transcends a lot of other thoughts, therein is what we would call wisdom, right? Maybe the Buddhists call it enlightenment or
No. Actually,
some other word.
yeah, wisdom means to contemplate on impermanence and the middle way, because these are very important. You know.
And you know what's really funny is that impermanence, right? But yet they sit so still to get to the impermanence, which is always flowing. So it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, the interesting thing is the next one we're going to do is the law of polarity, right?
Yes, right, yeah.
And which is getting caught into the either side of the yin or the yang, or the right or the left or whatever. And when we're talking about Wu Wei and we're talking about the middle way, it's the state of grace. Let's call it grace, for lack of a better word, where the polarity, you see the polarity, you experience the polarity, you discern the polarity, but you're not caught in the polarity, and you have compassion for all those sentient beings who are caught in the polarity and trying to figure it out, because it is pure illusion. In other words, the polarity is an illusion. And if they too could remember that they already are the Buddha, then they could step out of the polarity at any moment.
You know, yin yang actually is polarity. Is the beginning of polarity.
Right.
Of creation. So everything has polarity, you know, and so and polarity transcends everything.
Don't you agree that you'd have to have all of these 12 laws? You would have to have some kind of comprehension of all of them in order to be able to do that anyway?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
Yeah, I think so. I think these are, you could call them stepping stones that you throw away as you discover enlightenment.
Right.
So polarity, when thinking about the laws of polarity, the most important thing to remember is that absolutely everything has an opposite. And it's the very existence of these opposites allows us to understand our life. Constantly, when we go through something difficult, it will be those things that help you truly appreciate the good development to come. We keep telling those that are doing the deep clearing that yes, that entity that's biting your butt is actually your greatest teacher. And they say, what? No way, he's hurting me. it's really a hard concept to understand, but there you are. By regularly reminding yourself of this, you can improve your resilience in troubled times. Because guess what? You called for those troubled times in order for you to spiritually grow. For example, through a bad breakup is painful. It teaches you that it doesn't work for you in a relationship, helping you to eventually find the one that does. Did you know that you can harness the power of subconscious and transform your life? Yeah, well, we know that you want us to sign up for another program. Okay, laws of rhythm. Sometimes called the law of perpetual motion, the law of rhythm is unsurprisingly focused on moving. In particular, it refers to the fact that all things come in cycles. You can see this in nature, in the seasons, and in the body's aging process. However, it is equally applied to a person's life stages, and reflecting on that helps you to gain perspective. Today's season may be good, but nothing is permanent. So enjoy what you have while it lasts. Alternatively, perhaps you're in a negative part of the cycle right now, but it may be the very thing that prepares you for a prosperous change in the cycles next month. I think also that to remember that the law of rhythm is just not cycles, because really, if you look at what we think is a cycle, like for example, the earth going around the sun, right? As a cycle, or the coming and going of seasons, we are actually hurtling through space at an incredible rate. So we're actually spiraling. What looks like a circle is actually a spiral.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's very many circles. I mean, we talk about hoops, and First Nations talk about hoops that join us together, but we are actually in constant motion. So I think it's more like we're a spiral.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we return to this. I think it's said in by T.S. Eliot, we return yet again to the same place and discover that it's different. There's words to that effect. It looks similar, but somehow it's different because we've gone up a level, or maybe we went down a level. So I would say the law of rhythm is not just, it's motion, but I would say it's not just circular, that it's all has also spirals in it. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, I agree. Yes.
Wow, he agreed. Okay, 12, the law of gender. Oh God, sex again. Finally, the law of gender has very little to do with biological sex. Yeah, sure. Rather, it refers to the fact that there are two major types of energy. You can think of them as masculine and feminine, or yin and yang, or anima and animus. We all contain a certain amount of both energy and must find a way to achieve a balance between both types. We are to live authentically and happily. Think about the role of each type of energy appears to play in your life, and whether there's an excess or a deficit of either. Yeah, the divine marriage, right?
Yep.
Divine marriage in each of us.
Yep.
We done did it. Those are the 12 laws.
What was number 10, Tyson, please?
All right, number 10 is the law of polarity.
Polarity, yes. Thank you.
So play with these. I mean, these definitions are pretty Mickey Mouse, but the laws are all correct, right?
Yeah. Are we going to do our,
Yes, we will.
yeah, I can't remember what we call it. Our circle?
Yeah, we're going to clear everybody on the list.
Cool.
All right. All right, so do you want to do it silently?
Well, does anyone want to lead it? Because if no one else does, I will.
All right, go for it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so you don't want to. What about Crystal or Eduardo? Either one of you want to do it?
No, I'm okay. I may get somebody walking in the room, so I'm okay.
Crystal doesn't want to, no. Oh, you can't hear. Okay, but you can, okay. I'll just do it then.
Wow, there's two of Crystal again. Wow, both sides of the fence.
Yeah, really.
She's so beautiful, we need to see her twice.
Yeah, right. One out of the right eyeball and one out of the left.
All right, let me get to the list. Does anyone have anyone else they want to add to the list that they've that they've had. We have Brittany, Kimberly, Joseph, Sarah, David, Matthew, Kimberly, Kevin, Brett, Crystal, Dan, Mike, Yantoy, Celeste, Dory, Elizabeth, Francisco, Alexander, Eliezra, Kayla,
Or
Dory.
Elder Ezra quit his job
Yeah,
and he feels very, very free and has gone through massive change and feels like a free agent.
Eduardo, who's on the call here today. Brittany, Kimberly, Jody, Joan, Yehuda, that's his son. Laura, Laura Kay, and ex-husband and children. Francisco, Alexander, everyone in the group. Do we have anyone else that we want to add to this today? Anyone? If you want, there's one in the chat. Someone added. I can hear from one machine and see the other.
That's Crystal.
Oh, your technology. I see. Okay. All right. So let's just do this. So take some deep breaths and blow out. And let's all connect our hearts from Tyson to Tony to Crystal to Eduardo to Laura to Tyson. And in this circle we've created, and our hearts, the intention of our hearts to be connected in this moment. We also connect to Mother Earth by pushing all of the circle down into Mother Earth, growing roots down, allowing anything that is negative or not serving us as a group be released into Mother Earth. There we go. And then pulling all that beautiful Mother Earth energy back up and allowing that to sit in our hearts. Opening up our crown chakra and allowing all of our energy to flow up to God's highest vibrational plane that we are allowed to go to. Here we go. And then bringing all that energy down and within and allowing it to resonate within our hearts. We ask all of the people that I just went through to come into the middle of the group, including each one of our own souls. And for all of our energy to go within and whatever serves them best in this moment. To be healed and rejuvenated as God's divine plan. And since I work with Harold McCoy all the time, I'm going to ask for the Tibetan white light, that hose, to come down and go into the middle of our group, which includes us as well, and connect to every single person's top of their head, into their soul, and allow this white light to flow through them, fill them up, heal, rejuvenate, whatever it is that these people need in this moment. allowing all of our heartbeats to beat as one, come all together as one, and heal as one, vibrate as one. And asking the whole group to rise and allow the vibration of every soul in this group, past, present, and future, who will watch this, come in and raise up their vibration and expand and integrate. Allowing these energies to integrate, become part of us. Let's all go back into our heart space. Disconnecting from one another. Slowly, 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 slowly. And come back slowly into the body. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And so it is, and you can open your eyes and rejoin.
Thank you, Laura.
You're welcome. Thank you.
That was wonderful.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Crystal and Eduardo.
Thank
How you doing? How you doing, Eduardo? I can't see you.
Yes, doing great.
Good.
They don't want to come back.
Good.
Who wants to come back? So what would people like to do next week?
What about the Bill Heinrich, since we've mentioned him a few times?
Mm,
He's got an awful lot to say about an awful lot of things.
Well, the book you guys mentioned last week was with the 7 laws of truth.
Yeah.
yeah, but then we have to buy it, and are we going to be able to buy it, receive it, and then read it before next Friday?
Yeah. Well, let's pick something that's on the list, and I'm happy with that.
I could talk if you want to have Bill come, I can ask him if he'd like to come. He probably would be willing to show up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But like Laura said, like I think if we really got the program, let's go back to the program. I'm happy with that.
All right. So oh, I forgot to tell you that Isabel Stednicki just passed over last week.
Oh, wow.
Did the color healing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We had some really interesting discussion on the virus and vaccine clearing. We talked about terrain versus germ theory, multiple souls in one body, calling one soul right now, virus immunity we ran, which is divine mother energy, blue rain of unconditional love, we ran that. We talked about your multiple souls, which is Ruth Redley's book. We talked about quantum jumping with Goldman.
Yeah.
And we talked about your soul's gift, the healing power of life you planned, which is before you incarnated. So some of those topics were very, very powerful. So yeah, that was pretty interesting. Any of that ring a bell with anybody?
You want us to watch that and then talk about it on Friday?
Yeah, you could do that if you wanted to, and we could take it to a even deeper level if you wanted to.
What do you guys think?
I like to learn something about quantum jumping. That sounds very interesting.
Yeah,
Do
we
we
didn't
have
go into
anything
a
on
lot
that?
of detail, but I can certainly take you through a quantum dumping. I have dumping,
Yeah.
not quantum dumping. Well, that's a deep clearing protocol. Take a quantum dump. But I do have, I can take you through quantum jumping in a very straightforward way, which is very powerful. We could do that.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
How do
And
we, how do we do that? What do we read?
For next Friday? That's for next Friday?
yeah,
Oh,
for
we
next
just-
Friday.
Okay.
We just show up?
Just show up.
Okay.
Who wants to, does anybody want to listen to the one we did on viruses?
Oh, yeah, I would.
Yeah, of course. I would definitely.
Okay, I'll dump it into the group.
Okay.
So you can watch it there.
Okay.
What else was I going to say? Oh, for those of you that don't know, I'm making this course available as an evergreen. What I mean by that is you can come in, watch all the videos in the closed Facebook group. You'd be a member of that, but you could only join us for the last Friday of the month to answer questions. And that way you could get the course for 50% off for those that can't afford it. What do you think of that as an idea?
So like once a month, we'd have a bunch of people join us?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. I think the more energy you have and the more ideas, that's
Yeah, sure.
beautiful.
Yep.
They would be able to watch all the videos that you guys participated in, but I don't see anything wrong with that, do you?
I
No.
don't at all. No.
No, why not?
And at some time I'd like to get all of Crystal's work that we did. Like Crystal, I did some profound work together. I'd love to bring that all together as well with Crystal's permission. I know some of it was pretty personal. So think about that, Crystal, whether that's something you want to share or not. But you're okay with that? Yeah, right. So
She's
we'll
an
make,
open book.
she's not sure about that. Okay, you let
Okay.
You let me know. Yeah, because it's very personal stuff.
I
All
got
right.
you.
And maybe we'll cherry pick it. But anyway, yeah. So everybody's okay with that to have those videos available for other people.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so quantum jumping next week, and you get to watch the one that I just did, and come on back with all your questions and all those there's a lot of good topics in that. We can take any one of those and go deeper. Okay, so
All right.
have a great week, everybody. Thanks for showing up. It's always
Thank you
fun
very much.
to do this.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Take care.